finally does show up.
Yes. And it's like another red herring. It's like, was she there the whole time? She's just fucking like, oh, did I just show up? You know, and it's...
I never thought of that. That's a good point.
Because she shows
that
up...
That could be a cue to the audience that Tatum is a suspect.
Exactly. And, you know, it's also established that Dewey and Tatum are related. So that could also be another reason Stu said that to Tatum that he broke up with Casey to be with her. Maybe he just got with her because of Dewey being a cop, and they could, you know, maybe be close to him and see, you know, like what they know about, you know, Mrs. Prescott's murder, and just to see what the...
True.
Yeah, because Dewey is kind of a little like, you know, derp. So I feel like they could, you know, hey, I'm your sister's boyfriend. What's up? How's the job going, you know? I could see that.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that.
Yeah, but also, I mean, that's a good side effect of it too. But I think the main purpose of him trying to start a relationship with Tatum is the whole thing is revolved around Sydney.
Yeah,
and
that is true.
Tatum's Sydney's best friend.
Yeah, it could definitely be that as well. And I do feel that maybe Stu didn't like Tatum at all, like, or in love with her. You know,
I don't doubt that he was attracted to her. I don't doubt that he liked spending time with her in, you know, various ways. But no, I don't think he was in love with her.
Yeah, I
think he was in love with Casey, and that broke his heart and pissed him off.
I could see that. And I mean, Tatum was a blonde as well. She's just a little bitchier. Rose McGowan was fucking amazing.
No.
Rose fucking killed it. So yeah, that happens. Gail comes in. She gets cussed out by Tatum, and then she calls Kenny fat.
That's at the end of the police station. So while they're at the police station, they establish that, you know, we're gonna look up the cell phone records to determine who made the call.
No, I meant whenever Gail gets there, and then, you know, Tatum's like, I'm not talking to you. Yeah, whatever. And then that's when Kenny gets there and she calls him fat.
Okay, you're right. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. Don't correct me again. Don't correct me again, bitch. Fucking embarrassing.
Kenny, I know you're about 50 pounds overweight, but when I say quickly, please interpret that as get your fat tub of lard ass over here now!
And that just establishes, oh, she's a bitch.
She's a fucking bitch, and Kenny is fat.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like, that's where they go to the police station and...
Okay.
I'm Billy, I'm innocent.
Billy's there with his father. His father's like, why don't you just check the phone records? Yeah, Hank, we're looking into it. So, but you got to remember, we're thinking of this with today's lens. That kind of information would be a lot more easier to access now.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Back then, it was like, ugh. So that happens. We also learned...
They can do it, but it's going to take time. And then I think this might be the first time where they say that Billy's last name is Loomis. I
think so, too. Which is a homage to Sam Loomis. And you said someone else. I forgot who it was.
No, it was... Well, they're both Sam Loomis.
Yeah.
It's a reference to Sam Loomis, the doctor from Halloween.
From Halloween,
who in himself was a reference to Sam Loomis, who was the Janet Leigh's boyfriend in the movie Psycho.
That's right. You're right. Yeah, that's right. I forgot. I have not seen Psycho in so long, but it was a good movie. Yeah, I forgot his name was.
Extra layers of horror geekdom.
It's like homage over their homage.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that happens. They arrest Billy. They're like, get the fuck out. You know, he's begging Sydney. He's not guilty. You learn about the costume being sold everywhere, which is Father Death. And Tatum's impatient.
So that's not really a clue.
Yeah.
That they can't track it.
And I just want to jump in there real quick, just because we haven't had time to talk about the outfit, the costume. Originally, it was supposed to be all white. Like the hood and, you know, the whole cloak was supposed to be white, like a ghost, with the face being white as well. But, you know, it kind of it started kind of touching upon some Confederate brethren, if you know what I mean. And they decided, oh, that's a bad idea. So they decided to make it black and keep the mask white. And
that's a lot scarier.
Yeah, it definitely. And a lot, you know, you can't really see it. And I feel like it could cover up blood as well. Like, if it was white, it'd be covered in red, you know? It'd be a lot harder to contain. But yeah, I just wanted to
see it. It blends in the shadows, so it would blend, like, you know, when Stu's out with Steve and we don't really see Steve because the patio light's not on. Or if Stu were in the back of the closet, it would blend in with the closet.
Exactly.
Because they're black.
Exactly.
the white mask, that this was like the whole point of Halloween's mask too. The white mask against a black silhouette is like, there's something very scary about just seeing that like white circle in the distance.
Yeah, definitely. Especially like in a dark setting with the mask kind of popping out. Like, yeah, that would be so scary.
Yeah, so, yes.
Yeah, they did a good job with the costume.
When they're leaving the police station, Gail tries, this is what I thought you were talking about, Gail tries to confront Sydney to get a comment on the arrest.
Yeah.
And they argue a little bit back and forth about Cotton. And
oh, that's the next thing. Yeah, no, they tried it. So Tatum's getting impatient. They decide
Tatum hates Gail.
No, I mean in the police station, Tatum's getting impatient. He's like, "Can we just fucking leave already?" Like, Jesus Christ, this girl has been through some shit. I'm like, you know what? I agree with her. So they sneak them up the back. That's where Gail is like, "Isn't there a back room?" Like, conveniently at that time, that's when they meet up with Sydney, and she's trying to interview. Tatum definitely dislikes Gail. And that's where it's established that, Sydney's like, oh, she's just doing her job. How's the book coming? And she's like, oh, it's good. Okay, cool. I'll look forward to it, sarcastically. And then that's where Gail's like, I'll send you a copy. She gets punched in the fucking face. But you're like
a whole bunch of police who don't do anything to stop her.
Instead, they just cover Sydney's face and take her away. But the first time you watch it, you're like, wait, why did she punch her? Like, I know she's a bitch and she deserved it, but what makes Sydney hate Gail? Because at this point, it's not really established, And it's like, okay, that's kind of weird. I guess you could think, like, oh, she did write a book about her mom, but that much hate for that?
You're right. It's very hard to remember the mindset of this being the first time I've seen
exactly. Yeah.
You want to jump ahead because you know everything.
We literally grew up with everything.
For the first time viewer, yeah, you're right. We don't know why that would piss Sydney off yet.
Mm-hmm. So then, they're at the house. She gets an ice pack for her knuckles. Rose is in her little PJs, trying to look like a teenager. You called that out too. Yeah, and failing.
She looks so old. She looks 30.
Oh my god, that's kind of mean. I thought she looked like in her 20s.
It's not like it's old. It's just like very obviously not a teenager.
So then Sydney gets a call, and it's the killer, even though Billy's in jail. So this is definitely, I believe. Obviously, I'm pretty sure it's Stu. It's Stu calling her to kind of.
It could be Billy calling from the jail for the same reason, but it's probably more likely that it's Stu because
of the voice changer.
When you get arrested, they take your property, right?
Exactly.
And if he'd had a voice changer on him, that would have been really damning. So
yeah.
It's probably that attack earlier. That's why I think that the whole thing was a setup to fuck with her and to establish Billy's innocence.
Exactly.
Now that the killer has killed her while Billy's in jail, there's nothing to indicate that there's two killers yet.
Exactly.
So that's going to make the audience think and Sydney think, oh, it can't be Billy because Billy's in jail and the killer's calling me right now.
Exactly. Now it's the next day.
We cut to school. Mm-hmm. This is where we're going to find out the backstory between Gail and Sydney.
Yeah, but first we learn about Cotton being the convicted. So we see Liev Schreiber coming with his long hair. I actually thought that was Billy the first time I watched it. But rewatching it and then watching the sequels and then coming back, I was like, oh, that is Liev Schreiber. So they put him in the car and they're saying, this is Cotton Wary. This is a person who killed Sydney's mom, So they show that, and they say they're gonna. I think he's a death sentence, right? He got sentenced to death.
Yeah, he's on death row.
Yeah, death row.
He's convicted killer, and they established in the news report that it's Sydney's testimony that clinched his conviction.
Exactly. So then,
because she testified, she saw Cotton walking away from her mother's house wearing a bloody jacket.
Yes, exactly. So then, that's when Dewey tells her that Billy has been set free because it wasn't him, and it wasn't his phone. It was some other phone that was making the call. So Billy's innocent, and they're gonna go through all the phones and find out who it was, and they would let her know. So then they take her to school. And
I just want to touch more on this conversation she has with Gail. This is where Sydney starts to.
We haven't got there yet.
All right, Jesus, wow.
Sorry. I'm freaked out. This means everything to me. So then...
No, this was the order I wrote it in.
It's all good. Now, I just wanted to bring up, whenever they drop off Sydney, there's a report. It's like, how did the Fiat to get almost butchered? It's like, oh my god. For those fans, that is actually Linda Blair from The Exorcist. She played Reagan. So that's actually her playing that reporter. It was a cameo. I just wanted to point that out for any Exorcist
That's
fans.
another little Easter egg.
Yes, exactly. And she's just like, the people have a right to know. And I was like, oh my god, that's Linda Blair. The first few times, I didn't know that was her. I think I had to watch like behind the scenes to find out if that was her. And I was like, oh shit. But yeah, that's Linda Blair. Now we get to Sydney going over to Gale. You may continue.
Right, and so this is going to be the first time where Sydney starts to doubt whether she was right about Cotton or not. She's having the conversation with Gale. Gale says, don't come any closer. I'm going to, because of the punch she took last night, and starts to say, if you want to talk, we'll bring Kenny in. Sydney says, no, you owe me this off the record. I don't owe you shit. You owe my mother. That seems to resonate with Gale, so she tells Kenny to lay back.
And this is where we learn.
She insists to Sydney that she interviewed Cotton many times for the book. You did not see Cotton walking out with the jacket. You saw someone walk out wearing the jacket. The jacket they planted in Cotton's car later to frame him. Cotton admits that he was drunk. He admits to sleeping with your mother.
After she seduced him.
But he did not kill her.
And then this is where it's established that Sydney's like, no, my mom's just not like this. How dare you? This is why I punched you the first time. You want another one? So it's pretty much...
But Sydney does ask her, did Cotton ever change his story?
Yes, and then she says, nope,
no, not once.
Never. And then that's where pretty much. So it's kind of, that they haven't liked each other for a while because Sydney was the testimony that put Cotton away, like you said. And then Gale was pretty much saying, like, oh, I think she falsely accused him. I've talked to Cotton. His story hasn't changed. I feel like there's a missing piece. And I feel like from the beginning, Gale has felt like that. Like, something is missing. Something has happened.
Well, and you that's an important distinction to make, too, because Sydney says something to the effect of, that your book where you called me a liar. And Courtney Cox is quick to say, I didn't say you lie. I said you falsely identified him. Yes. Mm-hmm. That's, like, making a mistake is different than outright lying.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's
so
why
once Sydney thinks about it that way, yeah.
And that's where it's
make a mistake.
Yeah, and that's where it's established that maybe Sydney was taking it more personally than Gale was, Like, Gale was just reporting on it, was just giving, oh, this, and Sydney was like, wow, this fucking bitch is attacking me. But you also can't blame Sydney because, it was her mom and her mother.
Her mother.
Yeah, and she's just like, how dare you, she was very sure it was Cotton. And then that's where Gale's like, the killer's still out there, right? You're not even sure, are you? And that's where she kind of... Even Gale
These
realizes...
murders are related.
Yeah, and then even Gale says that, too. It's like, oh my god, the killer's still out there. And it's like... And I love... going back to the comedic aspect, it's like... I love this little scene where she's like, I could get a man out of death row. You're like... And then even Kenny smiles like, oh, she does have a heart. She's like, do you know what that would do to my book records? Like, my book sellings? It's like, oh... Okay.
You want to go on the air? No, not without proof.
You want to go live? So yeah, and then from this we see Sydney with Stu and Tatum. He's kind of a dick. He's like, oh, have you seen Billy? Is he pissed off at me? He's like, after you branded him Candyman? No, his heart is broken, bitch. It's like, oh wow, just throw it at her like
and
that.
I fucking love, in hindsight, that we know Stu is one of the killers. I love it when the prankster runs by in the ghost face costume, scared everybody. Stu's face is like he's so amused by that
and proud. It's like, I did this.
He thinks it's fucking. He's like, yeah.
It's like, and it's so awful. But then we have this scene between Billy and Sydney where Sydney's still kind of like, like, I'm sorry, it's just too much. I got attacked. And then Billy tries to make it personal. It's about your mom. It's like, bitch, I literally almost got killed last night. And I always love that scene because it's like, you know, they always overplay, like in Scary Movie or even in the sequel with Stab, you know, when they show that little scene which has to do with this one. I love how they always make it seem like, it's just that my mother was this and that. But in the reality, Sydney's like, dude, I literally almost got killed. Why are you bringing this up right now? This has nothing to do with this. And it's kind of like maybe Billy playing mind games, if you think about it.
Well, I think this is where Billy starts to lose patience. I think all along he's tried to maintain this nice guy act so that once he could prove himself innocent, he could still reel Sydney in. There is we'll touch on it as the movie goes on too. He does have a genuine resentment in him that she won't sleep with him. Mm-hmm. And it starts to bubble over here where he has to, like, once again bring out, you know, you won't sleep with me, your mom died a year ago, get over it. Which is like the exact opposite of what a comforting, supportive boyfriend would say. But he's human, and he's losing his patience to keep up in that nice guy mask.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, yeah, I agree. So then...
But even he knows he's stupid, he calls himself stupid.
It's like, fuck, she almost found me out.
Yeah.
And then we also get another clip from the president, the principal, kind of, I don't know, like, a lot of people say, like, oh, him being a dick to these students, but I honestly felt like he was right. Like, you know, literally, 3 of your classmates, 2 of them got killed, and 1 of them got attacked literally the night before, and y'all are partying? Like, fuck you.
Yeah, I understand his anger. I don't know that I would threaten them with scissors, but I certainly think it's an expellable offense.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
I do agree with the expel. I have to agree with you. I do agree that it's to be expelled, but yeah, maybe he shouldn't have threatened them. But I could see where the emotion was coming from. So I don't understand. Like, I could see the way he grabbed Sydney earlier, you know, being creepy, but this scene didn't really make him a bad guy. It actually made me like him.
Maybe he has, like, some kind of connection to Sydney. I don't know. They don't really ever go into it, though.
That would be interesting.
But he does seem to be taking it very personally.
Mm-hmm. Maybe he was another one of, you know, Mrs. Prescott's lovers.
It's possible. We'll find out she had several.
Oh my god, we find out he's actually Sydney's dad. Can you imagine? Oh fuck. That's why he grabbed her like that? You look like me, you have my chin.
You're giving away part 3.
Well, anyways, so after that is... Oh, Gail and Dewey have a little thing. And they start flirting.
Is that before the scene where Sydney's in the bathroom?
Who cares? We're just gonna say they had a scene.
Okay.
Gail tried to seduce Dewey but failed, but then he actually likes her. So now we're at the bathroom, and oh yeah, that was after. Yeah, that was after the bathroom. No, you're right.
The bathroom came first.
Yeah.
So she's in the stall, and those 2 bitchy girls are talking all kinds of shit about her.
That's Spice and me.
Yeah, Spice is the cheerleader.
Yeah, I'm the ugly bitch in the back with the nasty ass 80s pants.
Yeah. Then we see that once they're gone and she's alone in the bathroom, that there is somebody in the other stall who slips off the toilet and puts the Ghostface costume on to dash out of the stall and attack her. Here's what I wanted to ask you about that. Do you think that was either Billy or Stu in a planned attack, or do you think that was another prankster?
I think it was another prankster.
I think it must have been 2 for 2 reasons. A, you know, I wrote down here on my notes, how would they have possibly known that she was going to go to that bathroom and when?
I feel like it was just a prankster waiting there to scare anyone that was alone. And
sadly, I agree with that.
It happened to have been Sydney that stepped in, and it's like, oh shit. Like, even the groan, it doesn't sound like Stu or Billy. At least in my opinion, it didn't sound like them.
And because the other thing I wrote here is what would they hope to have accomplished during that attack?
Yeah.
This is one of 2 moments. There's gonna be another one later where I'm gonna ask. The point of attacking her in her house in the previous scene, like I said, I think again was to set up that she could trust Billy ultimately. I don't know what would have been the point of attacking her now. Because for what else they want to have accomplish, they don't want her to die yet.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And then, so then that kind of causes everyone to go home early, and there's a curfew, and that's where Gail and Dewey have their little moment.
This is where Dewey's... Here's where I wonder...
Mm-hmm.
Here's another question I could ask you. I do believe, obviously, because we're going to see that Gail and Dewey wind up together,
mm-hmm.
that at some point she becomes genuinely attracted to him and falls for him.
Mm-hmm.
Being what we know about her character so far, though, that she's all about her career, she's all about getting the story, and she doesn't care who she has to lie to or manipulate to get it, I got the vibe that she was coming on to Dewey purely to like get him around her little finger so that she could have her
mm-hmm.
access to the police.
What's
going on.
I feel the same. I feel like she was just using him at first. Like, you know, as that conversation progressed, maybe even though, you know, Dewey's kind of like a klutz, you know, like he seems a little goofy. I mean, hence the name. But I feel like some of that was kind of like charming her as the conversation went on. And maybe it started, you know, like at first she's like, oh, let me trick this idiot, whatever. And then as it went on, she's like, he's kind of cute, you know?
I think she thought he was kind of cute, but here's why I think she was trying to manipulate him specifically. David Arquette is not a big guy. Like, he's of average size. And she goes out of her way to say, like, he has that, you know, massive, broad upper torso, which seems to, like, appeal to his ego. Oh, yeah.
Right.
But he doesn't. So, like,
and
that had to be just like, I'm buttering him up.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of what it starts. I feel like right then and there, after that conversation, he says, I was 24 for a whole year, and then he leaves, and she's like, call me Gail. She kind of knows, like, huh, he's cute. And then just kind of like... I think
that is where it starts to flip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then they leave
This is
school.
when the curfew is announced.
Yes, exactly. So then they leave school, they thank Sydney, Stu decides to throw a fucking party for some fucking reason.
Now here's my other question for you. I wrote this down to ask.
Yeah, go for it.
We know that their ultimate plan is to kill most, if not all, of their friends, and then set it up at the end so that it's going to look like Neil Prescott did it. And it all has to coalesce at the party. The party only became something that they did because curfew got announced. And there's no way, no matter how well they planned, that the killers could plan that the school was going to have a curfew or that the town was going to have a curfew.
Right.
So if curfew wasn't announced, what do you think their ultimate plan to have all this happen would have been?
I feel they would have still kind of had... You know what it would have been like? Kind of like Scream 4, where, you know... they kind of have like a little gathering to kind of stick together, be like, hey guys, maybe we should stick together. Let's have a little get together with some people just so we can, you know, be close and have each other's back. I feel like it would have been something like that, you know?
Yeah. You're probably right.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like
was clicking through my head, like what would they have done if there wasn't a curfew?
It would have been something similar. It would still have been a party, but they would have said like it's just to keep each other close, you know, to have each other's back, and you know, that way we can be in a group and not alone. And I think that's, you know, and even with the parties, you know, Tatum's like, come on, Sid, let's do it. You know, you won't be alone. So then we get...
I love when Stu says, you know, I'll protect you, I'm buff. Because that's another Matthew Lillard just not buff.
Oh my god.
He's so skinny.
He is so funny. And and then he even carries Tatum and gives her a fucking flower. That was adorable. Yep. So yeah,
he was very excited that this is all going to work out.
It's like we're thinking, oh, it's because of the party, but no, bitch. You look at it again, he's excited this is going down. So yeah, then afterwards, the principal is fucking around with the ghost face and gets a knock, closes it, scares himself in the fucking mirror, gets another knock, goes outside, and Wes Craven comes out as Freddy or Fred in this particular moment.
He was the janitor, and the principal recalls him Fred, and he's wearing the Freddy sweater.
Yeah.
That's easy to miss the first time.
Definitely. Yeah. It's like, you little shits, what you call me? Not you, Fred. It goes back.
Did he even have the fedora, too?
Yeah, he did. He did.
Yeah.
So then he goes back, thinks there's someone in his wardrobe, scares himself again in the mirror. You're thinking, oh, there's nothing going on. And then he closes the door, and oh my god, Ghostface is behind him and stabs him.
Now, most of these attacks, we are going to have a discussion about who's doing who. This is the most obvious one, I think. It has to be Billy, because Stu just left the school.
I agree. He's with Tatum.
And Billy was already in the school because he had just argued with Sydney in the hallway.
Yeah, exactly. So I do agree that it's Billy. And also, this scene was originally not there. They just hadn't had a kill in so long, you know. They literally haven't killed anyone since literally Casey and Steve, yeah. So they needed another kill, and they also needed a reason for some of the students to leave the school.
That's what I was going to say. You know, at first glance, it seems obvious that that's just a body count. Mm-hmm. And you go, well, why would they really want to kill the principal? Yeah. That's what it is. It's to get everybody away from the house later.
And to just have extra kills. So then we have a scene between... This is actually a really good scene for me. It's one of my favorites. It's Sydney and Tatum hanging in front of the school, or one of the houses, and talking about the rumors about Mrs. Prescott's past.
And I think Tatum does a really good job here of simultaneously being a supportive friend.
Yes.
Well, you know, I've talked about, you know, every time in life somebody needs to tell you the hard truth, I think it's better when it comes from a friend.
Yeah. And
it's not such a personal attack. So she did a really good job to me of being simultaneously supportive, but also saying, you know, Sydney, they might have a point.
Yeah. And, like, you know, I have to agree because just the way she goes about it, like, you know, she comes off as this bitch and, fuck you, and blah, blah, blah. But then in this moment, you kind of see, like, the true Tatum where she's like, Sid, you know, like, I'm your friend and everything. I hate to admit it, but, you know, some of these rumors...
You can only hear that Richard Gere gerbil story so many times. You have to believe it.
Fun fact, Mikey actually didn't know about that rumor, and I had to explain it to him.
I know Richard Gere is, but I'd never heard that.
Yeah, and we had to pause the movie, and I had to explain. He's like, I never understood that. I was like, oh, there's a rumor he sticks gerbils in his ass. So that was pretty funny. And it was like during a touching
the ridiculous story so many times before, and maybe there's some truth to it.
Yeah, exactly. So this is where it's established that it's not just Gail's book. It was before all this that people were talking about Maureen kind of being a slut. Well, I don't want to say slut, but cheating on her husband. Yeah.
Well, Tatum makes a good point, yeah, because there could be a misogynistic slant there to say, like, oh, she's just a tramp who just is a tramp for no reason. Yeah. But Tatum, you know, said maybe your mom was really unhappy.
Yeah. And I love that. And it seems like Tatum would, you know, she's telling Sydney, you know, like, maybe we should realize that your mom was very unhappy. But if someone were to come up and be like, haha, your mom's a slut, Tatum would jump in there and be like, you need to shut the fuck up before you get your ass kicked. Like, she's
Tatum
that type
was ready
of friend.
To throw down with Gail.
Oh, yeah, definitely. With anyone who fucked with Sydney.
Nice welt, sweetie.
That was good. So then they go to the grocery store, and is that the next scene? I'm pretty sure it is.
The next one we're in the video store, and Randy's there, Stu's there, Billy's there. This is, you know, when I talked earlier about the hiding in plain sight, and this to me in hindsight is the most obvious example of Billy is the killer. Maybe not Stu, but definitely Billy. And what I love about this, what I love about it, is that we'll establish over the course of the series that Randy is like the horror movie guru. And he knows everything about why things happen and what. He got it exactly right. You know, when Stu's like trying to cast out, like, why would Billy kill her? And he's like,
maybe it's his
maybe
pops.
Sid wouldn't sleep with him.
Oh, yep. And then he's maybe like, if they watch Prom Night, they'd save some time.
It's all simple. The simplest explanation is the correct one. That's Occam's razor.
Yep.
The simplest explanation for a problem is usually the correct one. Mm-hmm. There's no need to overly complicate it. And I think everybody can relate to this, whether they're gay or straight, for whichever sex. There's always some stupid reason to kill your girlfriend.
That's so true. so
this slides in there. Maybe Sydney wouldn't sleep with him.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, but can I have a chance? And then Matthew just or Stu laughs in his face.
No, I don't.
At all. And then There's even a little scene between. Well, yeah, there's a scene where Randy turns around and gets confronted by Billy, and Stu kind of like, is behind him, like, kind of like what he did with Billy when they're confronting Sydney later on. They kind of have like that little moment.
See the dynamic of Stu is subservient to Billy.
Yeah, exactly. He's just laughing it up.
Yeah,
but
I love that, Stu's trying to, because that's ultimately going to be their narrative. So Stu's trying to play it, and Randy, it's, what I think it's their dad, man. Mm-hmm. Why can't they find their dad? And again, Randy just nails it immediately. Probably because he's already been dead or captured. His body's going to come out in the end of the,
And he called it.
Right before he bumps into Billy, he directly says the dad is a red herring, the killer is Billy.
Yep. And I'm like, I like how once Bill, he's like, everyone's a suspect, and then Stu goes, oh, he had a little weed, he's a little cuckoo, which I know was your favorite line.
Yeah, Matthew Lillard is so great.
He's really good. And
I kind of feel like maybe that was an ad lib.
Yeah, and we'll get to that with the scenes at the end, which I can't wait for. But I love how Randy's like saying all this shit, but then the second he turns around, sees Billy, he shits his bricks and goes, "Oh, I could be the killer too." Which he
says what I said earlier, which is, if this was a scary movie, I'd be the first suspect. Because I'm the movie geek. Maybe I've watched one too many scary movies.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. Maybe your movie freak mind finally snapped.
He goes, "You're telling me that's not a killer?"
Yeah, exactly. He knew it, but he got it exactly to the point where he said, "The dad is a red herring. Billy's the killer." Now they're at the grocery store.
Okay,
this is the first and maybe the only moment in the movie. I know you have something you think about it. I think this is the first time where it's just completely ridiculous. Where there's this scene where they see Ghostface in the reflection of the ice cooler, and it's like, why would he be there? Why would he be in the costume? It's too risky. They were just at the video store.
Right. And also, they actually had a scene like that with when Sydney and Tatum were having their moment, where they leave, and then in the bushes you see him pass by too. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, and see, that's silly too, but it's a little more plausible because he's not like so up close to them, or they're not out in public.
I feel
it would have been way too risky to be in the grocery store.
What I said to Mikey was, in my opinion, I think either it's just Sydney's brain going like, "Oh, what if the killer passed by?" Or something like that.
Because now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, this is shortly after everybody like freaked her out at school.
Exactly. So I do feel like it's
so she's already in a freaked out state of mind.
Yeah. So that happens. They leave the there's between Dewey and the sheriff. They're talking about how the calls are coming from Neil Prescott's phone.
Right. They reveal that the trace led to his phone, and they reveal that their plan is to keep the curfew in effect and set up roadblocks so that if he's out driving, they'll catch him. And if they don't catch him in the morning, they're just going to go house to house until they find him.
So they're all scared.
But
and
they've decided that Neil Prescott is their guy now.
Exactly. And I don't know if you noticed, but every time the sheriff takes a puff from his cigarette, Dewey goes in for a lick with his ice cream. I was almost half-heartedly expecting that whenever the sheriff threw out the cigarette and stepped on it, Dewey would do the same with his ice cream.
Yeah. And you know what else I think is funny too? In I believe it was during this scene where they were talking about like who would, if this became a movie, who would play you.
Oh, that was before the grocery store. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and Dewey says, "I see you as a young Meg Ryan," and she goes, "With my luck, it'll probably wind up being Tori Spelling." And then when they actually make the movie in the sequel, it's Tori Spelling.
I thought that was great. And then I think David Schwimmer does. They say David Schwimmer does Dewey.
Yeah.
And he's like, and I got,
yeah.
And then Randy's like, they got David Schwimmer playing you, and then some nobody playing me. I was like, I forget which name he said, but I'm gonna have to look it up. Whenever I watch Stream 2, we'll write it down. Yeah. But yeah, that was definitely funny. That is so funny that Tori Spelling actually, was cool with doing that shit. That's fucking badass.
It's awesome.
So yeah,
so now we're at the house party.
Oh yeah, the final act.
Yeah, finally. One of the things we'll talk about is who kills Tatum.
Oh yeah.
I think there's compelling evidence for both. Again, and I don't know what I'm about to say if it indicates one or the other more, because I think this could be argued for each of them. But Stu specifically sends her to the garage. He says, Can you go to the garage and get me another beer? So that could be like he sent her there because he knew Billy was waiting there, or he sent her there because she'll be entrapped and he can go get her.
What do you think?
At first, when I first saw this, I was certain that Stu killed her. Again, going on the theory that they're killing their own girlfriends. I could just say it now because otherwise it won't make sense. Shortly after Tatum dies, Billy shows up at the doorway, and there's a moment where Billy gives Stu a very knowing look and nods at him, and the look kind of seems to be saying I did it, I took care of it.
It's all good. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So I do think it's Billy.
Because Stu probably has to. Now that I'm thinking about it, it probably is Billy for this reason too. It's Stu's house that the party is at.
He has to be busy.
Host. Right. He's entertaining everybody. Since he's the host of the party, it would be more noticeable if he were missing. Nobody has seen Billy show up yet, even, so nobody has any reason to think that Billy would even be there.
Yeah, exactly. So I do have to agree. It was definitely Billy taking care of Tatum, and it's definitely Stu.
So Stu just sent her to the garage.
Her death. Yeah, to her death.
Yeah.
So maybe he wasn't that fucked up. Decided not to kill his own girlfriend.
Yeah, but he doesn't even give her a hug or he's just yeah, go get me a beer. So he doesn't seem to have much genuine affection.
Yeah, really, he doesn't. He really doesn't. I was just trying to be nice. But yeah. Oh, and then Gail shows up wanting to. She it's like she feels something's gonna happen. She's like, "Ooh, I better get some good stuff."
She plants the CV camera.
Yeah, she plants the camera. She has a little moment with Sydney where they make eye contact. She goes, and looks away. Dewey's there all proud because
Dewey's
that's her
very excited. Date. She's with me.
And then Tata's like, oh, that's great. Now get the fuck out.
Hey, son, should you be drinking that? You're underage. No, I'm just kidding. Have a good time.
So stupid.
Yeah, immediately Tatum's like, "Oh, we're trying to drink. The fucking cops are here."
Right, yeah, and then Tatum's like, "It's my brother. Fuck, god damn it. I'm sorry, guys." And that's where she goes in the garage, and I'm not gonna lie. I actually love how, and I told you this when we were watching the movie. They never call the killer Ghostface. If you pay attention for the first 3 movies. They never referred to him as Ghostface. It wasn't until the 4th one that they did. However, in this scene, this is the first time he gets called Ghostface, and it's by Tatum. Every other time, it's a killer, or oh, I got a call, But she calls him, no, don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel. I love this scene, just the way she just fucking plays it, and when she sees the shit,
she immediately assumed it was Randy.
Right. Again, it's
Sydney assumed it was Randy on the phone. I think this is all putting into the audience's mind that it could be Randy.
Exactly. So then she gets slashed in her arm, and then it's like, oh, shit's getting real, and she becomes a fucking badass for a second. She fucking throws that fridge door open, knocks him the fuck out. Grabs beer bottles and throws them at him. Fucking flips them.
You know how hard beer bottles are?
Right. And
when people break them in the movie, they're using breakaway glass.
Right.
If you ever hit your head in the head with a real beer bottle, that would fucking hurt.
Oh, definitely. It would knock you the fuck out. So just imagine that being real, and it's actually her breaking.
And a full beer.
Yeah. And it's a 40. So, and she even fucking, like I said, she flips him, and then... Oh, doggy door out. And it's like, oh.
And I love how they were talking earlier about the big tit girls, and it's her tits that get her stuck.
Pretty much, yeah. And it's sad to see her go that way. Like, it's a very creative kill. I actually do like the kill, you know? It's very cool and very original, if you will. I just, you know, like a lot of people have always argued, it's just like, you know, it just doesn't seem possible or probable. And
yeah,
it's like, you know,
I kind of tend to think the door wouldn't work, but it works psychologically in that I think the scariest kind of death is when you know, like, it reminds me of what people who die in a plane crash must feel like. Like, there's only a few moments where you know you're gonna die, and you know you can't do anything about it, and you're aware that it's happening because she sees that she's gonna hit it.
Yeah, and there's nothing she can do. I do like that.
It's like a lot, you know, if you just get shot in the head, whatever, you know, you're dead. But when you know you're about to die and you can't stop it, even though it's only like 2 or 3 seconds, it must feel like an eternity.
Exactly. And it's just like, fuck. And
yeah, it's scary.
And I love that, you know, because I think they even talked about how Rose could not scream in this movie. She's like, I don't know how to scream. Like, I can't scream. So she just goes, ah! Ah! Excuse me, I just choked. Just like seeing her, like, you know, she did a good job. I actually liked the way she acted that out. So yeah, now
I was sad when Tatum died.
Yeah, I was really sad. I wish she could have came back for the sequel or anything like that. She's a great character that she will be missed. And
she'd been kind of bitchy earlier in the movie, but like I said, in that last scene with Sydney, I really thought she showed a lot of heart as a friend.
A lot of character. That's where her character pretty much like came through, and I fucking love it.
Probably the point of that scene. See, I'm always thinking about how the directors have to cut time. So they really can't have stuff in movies that serves no point. And, you know, other than, like, saying, you know, maybe your mom was unhappy, I think the point of that scene was to establish that emotional connection between them so that we would feel really sad when she died.
Exactly. And I really did. Like, when I saw her going in a garage, like I said, I'd seen Scary Movie, and I just remembered the fat bitch. But, when I saw her at the garage, I was like, oh, no, it's her? Really, it's her? And then, like, you know, as it's going, I'm like, oh my gosh, she might get away. Maybe it's someone else. But then, you know, she goes to it, and like you said, it's much sadder, just to see her as it slowly goes up and she's being carried. Like that was really sad. And like I said, Tatum was a great character in my opinion. I thought she was great, and Rose fucking killed it. So, next scene, we have...
Some people are leaving, and I think that's when they say, you know, where's Tatum? And Stu's like, oh, she probably got pissed and bailed.
Fucking Stu's living his own life. He's just like, oh, I'm just having fun. I'm just drinking and having fun.
Well, she did have a tendency to get pissed at him. She would, like, elbow him in the ribs and hit him in the face with the lollipop.
I remember stupidity. So, yeah, that's when Billy comes in, does that little head nod and even little hit to the stomach.
Like, hey,
hey, I did it.
It's really obvious now that I've...
Yeah, definitely. And then Stu offers the two of them to go upstairs. I feel like right there is like, you know, him trying to like help out Billy, try to help, like, hey, we need to get her to lose her virginity. He's like, maybe you guys can go upstairs and talk, and then you can tell Billy's like, oh, shut the fuck up, dude. And then when Sydney, and then Sydney's like, no, we do need to talk. They both kind of look, oh, okay. Right, and then that's where he hits him and is like, oh, we got this. And then Randy sees it, he gets pissed off. It's sad. They decide to go watch Halloween. Meanwhile, Gail is watching the camera, and they find out it's like 30 seconds delayed or something.
That's really important because it's going to give an extra layer of stress when we know that the killer has to have been out by then because 30 seconds went by.
Exactly. So, excuse me. So that happens, and then...
Well, so Billy and Sydney are in the bedroom, and this is where Billy goes on his speech, where he's relating things to a movie again. And Sydney saying, well, this is real life. It's not a movie. And he's saying, yes, it is. It's all one big movie. And then I had this thought of, they spent all this time trying to, the killer has horror movie knowledge, and that's supposed to make us think that it's Randy because he's the super horror movie geek.
Right.
But now this is the third time in the movie that Billy has talked about movies.
Yeah, he quotes a movie. Like he says The Exorcist. He says this. What was the other one? God damn, I forgot it. There was another one, and then you see him in the horror section, and then now he's quoting Silence of the Lambs, and it's like it's like little bits and pieces, and in hindsight, it's like it was him. And that's what I had said earlier before. I don't know if it got recorded. But, yeah, there's they never really show Billy as being like a huge horror movie fan. But he's always like quoting them and saying little things
Yeah. So by this point when he said that, and now it's starting to set in
Yeah. And, yeah, he quotes Silence of... Or doesn't really quote it, but says it's like that scene with Jodie Foster. She keeps seeing flashbacks of her father, her dead father.
Right.
And then Sydney
he says it's only one movie, you just don't get to pick your genre.
Yeah, and then she's like, why can't I be a Meg Ryan movie? Or I got more now. And it's like, oh shit. Shit's going down.
You heard me. Yeah. So then we cut back to the living room, and that's when
they're watching
Randy
Halloween.
has this little freak out, and this is where he fully explains the horror movie rules.
Mm-hmm. One of them, you can never have sex. You gotta be a virgin. Which, we'll definitely have to do another episode where we just talk about final girls. That'd be interesting. But yeah, usually the main character is just like that. And then he says you can never drink or do drugs.
And he says it's the sin factor, and some people make that correlation, but I think that the reason that the girls who survive are the ones that don't have sex or do drugs is because they're not distracted or having their mind altered. They have a much more clear,
yeah,
focus.
But remember, Laurie from Halloween actually smoked marijuanas.
She did, which is why I think that but that was earlier in the day.
Yeah, that is true. You're right. It has to be at that party. Got it.
So I don't. Well, I mean, I think that it goes towards the point of it. Just because you do that, it doesn't mean that you're going to get killed because the movie is trying to punish drug use. It's because you have a clearer mind.
Right. Exactly. And just
Annie
with the sex
we'll
stuff.
Talk about Halloween, but Annie was super distracted by sex the whole time.
Yeah, she really was, and she wasn't looking around her. And there, the sex stuff. Just like we said, they're usually distracted by sex and all that stuff. And then the third rule is never say, well, I'll be right back, because you're not coming back. And it's funny because before this podcast, it was before we watched the movie. I was like, hey, I gotta go get something. I'll be right back. And then, on my way out, I'm like, fuck. And I came back and told Mikey, I'm like, why would I say that while watching this fucking movie?
Right. But because Stu knows he's a killer and he's not afraid, he immediately brazenly goes, I'm going to go get a beer. You want one? Yeah, sure. I'll be right back!
And everyone's oh, shit! Oh, my God.
You play with the rules, you wind up dead. See you with a knife later.
So then Gail and Kenny are watching the camera, and because it's a 30-second delay.
This is when they realize there's a delay.
Yeah, there's no. That happened before when he got the camera. She comes in. Right now they're just watching. So, Randy just explained the rules. Meanwhile, then we switch to me. While this is going, this is what they're doing, and they're just now starting to see the rules, and it's like. Okay, and then Dewey calls Gail that they saw a car, if she wants to go with him. She wants
to take a walk.
Uh-huh.
And during this walk, I think now they're genuinely...
Yeah, there's a scene where they start talking about Dewey's name, and it's actually Dwight, and that he got stuck with Dewey, which I would love to learn a little bit more about. Why did they bully him, and why did it go to Dewey? But then again, you can kind of see it. And then even Gail goes, how about Gail Weather? It sounds like I'm a newscaster or something. And just like
meteorologist.
Yeah, that's what it was. Thank you. And there's just this little connection between them, and it's really adorable. And then...
Yep.
So then
Well, we go back to the house, and this is when the phone call comes that Principal Henry's dead.
No, there's a scene where they're having sex, and then meanwhile it's going against with Scream, and they're like, "Yes, tits!" And she takes off like her shirt.
You're right.
Yeah, and then she takes off her bra and everything. The girls are like, "Yeah, I guess you guys are enjoying this more than us, so we're just gonna leave." So they leave. Now there's a few guys.
That's how they got rid of the girls.
Yeah,
and then the phone call comes.
Then the phone call comes in, which you said during the movie.
Yeah. That I think that the whole reason Stu left to get a beer was he's the one that's going to go make the call.
He made the call to Randy and was like, "Hey, well, I don't really know how the fucking call went, but it was interesting."
I was just thinking to myself, like, who would call them? How would they know where they were? And it had to be Stu.
Yeah, exactly.
And the whole point of that was to get more people away from the house.
Exactly.
The people they didn't care about killing.
Exactly.